Good day, I'm at Art Story Studios, and look who stopped to see me, the Chief.
Well, that's me, Chief Michael Hunter of the Fairmont Police Department.
Well, welcome. Glad you stopped by.
Thank you.
How long have you been the Chief here in Fairmont?
Well, I've been the Chief here for the last almost 2 years, but I've been here for 20 years.
Awesome. Well, glad you stopped by to see us. Say, you know, we just got done shooting an episode of Martin County on TV. Would you like to see that?
I'd love to.
Let's go to that right now. Joining me today is Dan. Dan, how you doing?
Oh, excellent.
Nice to see you. Of course, I've known you for some time. Can you share with the folks who might not, what's your name and what do you do?
Well, my name is Dan Terfehr. My wife and my son, myself, we operate Dan's Appliance and TV. It's been a great business. We've been there, this is our 40th year in business.
40th year. Wow, that's incredible. Let me ask you first of all, get this out of the way, Dan. Do you think I need any new TVs?
It's looking a little bad around here, yeah. It's this is quite a collection you have, you know. I love this old stuff. I love everything to do with old. I'm
Sure.
kind of a pack rat myself, like you are. But
That's right. Well, these are just, they certainly don't work as good
Oh,
as
I
a new
understand.
TV would work, I'll guarantee you, but they're just kind of fun. So, so you've been in business for 40 years. And you said it's your wife Ann, who I know, of course, and your son. And tell us, first of all, a little bit about what has been the biggest change in your business over the last 40 years.
Well, it's an interesting question. You know, the biggest factor, I guess, that's changed over the years is how we deal with people, you know, and how they get their information. When we started business, of course, there wasn't such a thing as internet. We didn't have to deal with anything with the internet. We were barely getting used to a fax machine. That was big stuff, you know.
Sure.
And television was one of our best advertising things when you bring up the TVs. But, you know, we'd drive to Mankato and make our TV commercials, and that is how we communicated with the rural people in Minnesota here. So electronics though has been, you know, the mode of communicating with people. We did a lot of radio ads. The internet though has been the biggest change, I think. You know, it's driven so many people into our store with a lot more information. Well, they come in, they know the dimensions, they know what features, they know what models, and we want to see it, we want to touch it, we want to feel it.
But they know what they're looking for.
They know what they're looking for.
They've already done
yeah.
some of the research, I'm sure.
Exactly. So they're a lot more informed today than what they were previously.
And don't you think that is the same in almost every business now?
Oh, I think so.
I
sure.
mean, it's obvious.
Everybody does that, don't you? I mean, if you need something, you search it out and then find out where you can get it. And most people want to do something locally. They don't want to have to go to New York to get it, you know.
But they still would like to go, after they've done the research, they still want to go into a store like yours and actually see it, feel it, whatever the case might be. And Dan, share with me what type of products you carry in the store.
Well, we're obviously an appliance store, so we handle all the major appliances, all the big heavy stuff, the things that people generally want to buy and have it brought out. We've also had electronics. We carry the Samsung television line yet, and one of our product lines in the last 8 or 9 years or so now have been carrying the Serta bed line.
Sure.
So we carry beds as well, and we deliver those products as well.
Now
as
the Serta beds, is that with the mascot or whatever you would call it, the sheep?
Yeah, the sheep. Yeah, that'd be Serta. And
now,
incidentally, Serta is a product that's actually manufactured to order. We stock inventory, of course, but when people come in and they pick out the firmness or the softness or whatever bed they want, you know, they will actually place an order with us. We order it right from the factory, which happens to be in Clear Lake, Iowa. So each
Clear
week,
Lake, Iowa.
yeah,
Oh, I
so
didn't
each
realize
week
that.
we get a shipment of beds, and that's what we deliver. You get a fresh one right out of the factories.
That's incredible. Well, I did see the big sheep that was in front of your business a while back.
On good days, we put him out there.
It's very cool. I thought that was very interesting. Yeah. So, and then Dan, I know you have quite a few hobbies too. Let's segue a little bit.
Okay.
Tell me, what would be a hobby that you're in?
Well, one of my vices, I guess. I'm an avid car collector. I love anything to do with cars. Since I was a very small guy, you know, I would get a backyard Grove car, I guess, for $5 or whatever, and get it home and tear it apart and make it run, and then that was my goal, to get that done. So over the years, I've been able to collect a number of different cars, and for me, it's a learning process, I guess. It's something I can, particular model or brand of a car, just like an appliance, I guess. You pick out a certain thing and you read all the things you can about it.
Sure.
And get all that information, and then the next vehicle is, or appliance, whatever it be, you get all the information you can for that. But it's like your TVs here, back to the same thing,
Exactly.
I mean, you have a
It becomes
particular
an
thing
obsession.
that you like to learn, keep the learning process going, Otherwise, you quit learning, you quit living.
So what's a car you have now that you treasure?
Oh, I'm a pretty, well, I grew up as a Chevrolet fan, and then all of a sudden I'm a Ford guy, and I've got some Chrysler products. So, I mean, I've got all kinds of things, but I really like the high performance cars today. I want to try to bring back some of the
muscle
things,
cars and
yeah,
such,
the muscle cars. The things when I was a kid growing up that you couldn't afford.
Yeah.
We grew up in the era where we had the green four-door, instead of having the fancy orange sports car.
We saw those cars.
Yeah.
We saw those cars and
Yes,
wanted
that's
those
right.
cars.
Yeah, we stood on the curb and watched them run down the road.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Well, that's very cool. We're going to show the folks, that was part of my segue. This is an interview that was done by Al Travis with Art Elliot, who's part of the Borderline Cruisers Club that's been in existence for 25 years, done in 2003. So why don't we show the folks that right now?
It's time for us to take a quick look at the Borderline Cruisers Car Club. And to talk about it this afternoon with us, Art Elliot. Art, thank you very much.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Before we get to the cruisers, the Borderline Cruisers and the organization itself, let's just talk a little bit. You're obviously an old car buff.
Oh, yeah. I like the old cars better than I do the new ones. They're easier to work on.
Got to get inside and muck around inside the engine compartment a little.
Yeah, you really get dirty that time. I mean, it's more fun to be able to do your own car and know about the engines without all the pollution controls on them and everything.
What is your car? What kind of car do you have?
I have a 67 Chevelle, 396. It's a Chevrolet Malibu, Chevelle Malibu. It's not the real SS thing, but I'm happy with it.
It's good enough to get you into the Cruisers Car Club, right?
Oh, yeah. Oh, you really don't need a car to get into the club. I mean, you can come down and join if you want to. We have some members that don't have a car, excuse me, that don't have a car, but they come and join. And
just to talk old cars.
Talk old cars, look at old cars, just to be with us sometimes,
Just because you're that much fun to hang with, Art? Is that it?
Well, I don't know. We got a pretty good group of guys and girls. There's family memberships. It's only $20 a year, and that includes the whole family. And they're included in all the activities that we have, our car shows or whatever.
Quick, let's go back with you. First car.
This is the first one up here. I used to have a 67 GTO I built from the ground up, 67 Chevy, and before I moved here. And now,
I meant your first car as an individual, not one you've ever carried out. Or
okay, it was a 62 Pontiac convertible. Had it.
Not a bad start.
No, it wasn't a bad start. Somebody did the work for me, converted it over to a 4-speed, what I wanted. Had a 389 tri-power. Hopped up a little bit and got enough tickets too.
Okay. Now, is that what got you into cars to begin with?
No, I more or less always like to tinker around with cars. My wife would be looking for me. Well, where's he at? He's in the garage tinkering with a car. I mean, regardless of what it was. And I always did that.
All right. So let's talk the Borderline Cruisers now. Do you know how long they've been around?
12 or 13 years, I think. I know they had a few car shows before they actually started giving out plaques. And this is the 14th year for the plaque, I think, and the 14th car show, but 10 years with the plaque.
Well, let's talk about the car shows in just one second. You meet on Tuesdays?
Third Tuesday of every month we meet, unless like in June, we have our car show coming up, so we'll have a little short meeting before that.
Okay. But now, so the group gets together on these once a month, and
yeah.
what would a meeting like that be like? I come, I want to be a part of it, I got my 20 bucks. I get in, and what, you sit around talking cars, showing pictures, seeing where people move? What exactly do you do?
Well, we sit down. It's a little bit organized meeting. Bring up, like your normal meetings, secretary, treasury report, and bring up new business, talk about the past car show we had in the mall, and then talk about what's got to be done for the next car show coming up in June. It's just more or less not talking just old cars. It's like a business meeting.
How many members?
We have about 25.
Really? That's outstanding. And obviously Borderline, so you're talking it's both Minnesota and Iowan folks, I take it?
Yeah. we're that close to the border, so Iowa can come up and join, and Minnesota.
Okay.
You know.
So what are some of the events you guys do? You talked about the mall. You're in the mall how often? You're in there more than once a year, aren't you?
No, the Classic Cars is in there once a year. We call it the spring show. Try to get people motivated to get them out and get them ready, and you know, for the car show season coming up. Which
you said the classic. What makes it a classic? How old do you have to be? Is it 25 years?
No, well, according to the states, 20 years or older. But we just call it Classic Cars because that's where a lot of them are around our time when we growed up.
Sure.
I think there's 83 was in there, 83 Buick by one of the members. He joins, and we do get some of the car dealers to put some of their other vehicles in there if we have room sometimes.
And when you say getting ready for the season, folks with an older car like yours, and you've got it dolled up, what do you do to get it ready? I mean, motivational talks, get it psyched up for the big game. What do you do?
Well, that's the only thing that's nice about the car. They don't talk back to you.
There you go. Do what you say.
No, I just clean it up, check everything, try to start it up, or you know, I start mine during the winter anyway. But start it up and make sure the oil's fine and the antifreeze, everything works. So when you get ready to hop in it and go for a cruise or something, ain't nothing going to break down. Yeah. But most of the time, it's going to break down. It's going to break down.
Yeah, but for like the mall shows, and we'll talk about what you do downtown for Heritage Acres, or Heritage Days. Folks don't just park the car in the mall and you walk by anymore. I mean, they've got elaborate billboards, little signs they made up. Some have pictures of the restoration of that automobile. Some have little cute dolls, and I mean, they dress the car up. I mean, literally. Some of them go much farther. I mean, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know what you're saying. It's an attention getter. Yeah, you can look at the car. It's a nice car, but then the little things you put with it.
The cute fuzzy dice and that sort of.
Oh yeah. That's to me. I think to a lot of us, that's part of the things. How you used to be able to have them hang around the mirror and go on down the road and nobody say nothing. As far as dressing them up, try to give you information: who owns the car, what it is, maybe the size of a motor. You know. They put different things on them, and the pictures, a lot of people have pictures that when they first got the car, and this is what you see it today, the work they go through, what they had to go through.
Okay. Your biggest event of the year, is it the Interlochen Heritage Days weekend?
Yeah.
The thing that you do with them, I say in conjunction with them, it's always the same weekend.
Yeah, it's a car show. It'll be downtown Plaza this year, June 8th. That's our big event, our car show.
How many cars do you think you get there for that on an annual event?
Anywhere from 100 to 130, maybe 140. It all depends on what kind of day it is and what other car shows are going on. There are a couple on that weekend now that I found out, but a lot of people come here.
As a car show, say we're watching and we have an old car and we've always thought about joining, and now it's only $20. We think we want to join the Cruisers Car Club. You have this event coming up, and you say it depends what the weather's like. There's no entry fee. There's no, get a reserve a place to park. I mean, you have 25 people, but you get 100 and some cars. Obviously, people are coming from other areas to bring their cars in.
Yeah, last year we had somebody from Nebraska come up with one. I don't know what happened, if he told it or drove it, I don't know on that, but there is an entry fee for the car show. It's $10 to register for the car and the driver. There's no charge to see the cars downtown Plaza, and all that money goes towards our trophies, giving away our trophies. We don't make any money. If there's any left over, we leave it in there, and then we got something to start off with in the spring again. No, nobody gets paid.
And when you say the $10 for the trophies, so you get 120 cars. What are some of the categories? There must be best of show, the best car out there by vote, and who votes, and tell me how that all works.
Okay, the best of show is more or less decided by 5 or 6 members of the club. You get enough people to walk down and been to enough car shows and how the car is displayed and everything. That's the best of show.
So that dolling it up, the billboard you put by it, the cute little kids pretending they're crying next to the bumper, the fuzzy, those things count to the winner of the show.
Oh yeah.
Even though it has nothing to do with the car.
Right.
So I'm kind of a traditionalist. I'm going to get on you about that. But that isn't it.
Well, whatever you want to do, dial up. But I mean, it's the best of show, and people like it.
Okay, so you have that category, and that's by 5 people in the group. What else?
The best GM, usually we try to get somebody from a GM dealership to come down and pick it up. The best Ford, best Dodge.
Do they go by dates as far as the oldest,
No.
the category of the 50s and 60s? They're not.
Not for the best Dodge, Ford, or General Motors. The other classes are broke down into dates of the car. And I think this show coming up, we have 32 classes that's broke down, and first, second, third for each class.
Do folks get to vote? If I'm wandering around, it costs nothing to go. I love watching going to these old car shows. You wander around, doesn't cost you. Do you get to vote? Does Joe Average get to take a pick?
In the mall, he does.
In the mall, they do. Okay.
We have it's getting to be a rarity anymore, a judge show. We have judges that go around and pretty good experts or pretty good people with car knowledge of what the car should look like or what they pay particular attention to. They judge it on the cleanliness, the originality, or customizing the motor.
You say customizing, you're allowed to hot rod them? Is that included, or?
Well, we have
Chop
classes for them. You can chop them and put the big motors in them, the muscle power, you know. All that takes effect to how well it's done, how well it looks.
We're running out of time. Someone wants to join the Cruisers Car Club. How do they do it?
Well, they can contact me or Jerry Rosen. He's Gary Rosen, excuse me. Or just ask. A lot of people
go to the show and ask.
You can go to the show and ask, or you can call me at home if you want to. Put my number on there, or 235-3139. You can call me or call Gary Rosen down at Rico Motors. He's a member. He's one of the original members that helped start the club.
All right, I've got to wrap it up, but I thank you very much for coming in. I do appreciate it.
Oh, no problem.
Yeah,
thank you.
You have a very good one. I appreciate it.
Well, that was a great report.
Certainly was.
How can you go wrong with cars, right?
That's right. Every car show you attend is always great information.
Absolutely.
You learn something.
Getting back to your business, share with the folks about service and that sort of thing, the things that you offer beyond purchasing things from your shop.
Sure. We do have, again, a full-time service department. There are 3 individuals that work for us and been there quite a long time. We certainly get them into the factory training as much as we can so that they're well-versed in every brand of product that we sell. And incidentally, we handle every single manufacturer's line today.
Really?
Yeah. You name a brand and we've got it, and we cover the product for warranty. And we do service for people that do not buy the product from us as well.
Wow.
So, I mean, if you happen to have bought it somewhere else, we'll be glad to take care of the service and the warranty service.
Now, how big an area do you service?
It's an interesting question. You know, when we started our business, we probably had about a 10-block area around Fairmont. I mean, we were pretty small, and that has grown now to over 50-mile radius of Fairmont. So we get out quite a ways and pretty much run routes every day. So it's like 2 days a week, you know, to Spirit Lake and all over the place. So, I mean, just call if you need service.
That's a service that is not offered in a lot of communities, so that's incredible.
Yeah, it's hard to get service today.
It is very hard, and that's a great asset for our community.
For any young people then that might be listening too, if you're interested in a good career, any kind of a service career is going to be something you want to look at today. Trades are lacking.
Much needed in all fields, that's for darn sure.
Contacting for service, you know, a lot of people will just get on the phone and call our store, which obviously our phone number's in the phone books, or it's on the internet as well under Dan's Appliance website. But you can contact us too on the internet just by contacting us at service@dansappliance.com. And if you have sales questions, it'd be sales@dansappliance.com. And our website is quite easy with dansappliance.com, obviously. So, but a lot of times the service at Dan's Appliance thing, I'll see that at 10 o'clock at night, and I can set up a call for you the next morning without.
Oh, wonderful.
And some people just contact me with questions. You know, I've got a problem with my washer tonight. What can I do? Well, you know, rather than having an answering service on the phone, you just contact us on the internet. A lot of times we'll catch that and respond to you right away so that you can have an answer and have the problem solved.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but then when you need to get back with them, you have all the answers.
Well, we hope so.
That's the goal.
The right answers.
Exactly. So I know you and Ann are very community-minded and have been very involved in the community for a long time and have known a lot of people
Certainly
from
have.
here in town. We're going to show in just a couple seconds an interview that was done by our friend Lenny Tvedten from the museum that he did with Goldy Christensen. Did you know Goldy?
I knew Goldy, yeah, knew him very well. He was a good customer of ours for years and years. They had rental property, so obviously needed to have different things repaired. And good people, really always good people.
Well,
ran the lumber yard here in town for years and years and years.
Well, and he, well, as we'll see in the interview, he was instrumental in our town for many years.
He certainly was.
Very interesting. So why don't we take a look at that?
Okay.
One man who has helped build literally many hometown businesses in Fairmont through the years is someone who goes by the name of Goldy. Reporter Lenny Tvedten introduces us to that man in this history moment.
Today we're going to visit with Wendell Christensen. Probably many of you know him as Goldy Christensen. Been involved in the construction business and lifelong Fairmont resident, I believe. Is that right?
Yeah,
Goldy?
Born here and raised here. I was gone for 10 years, but while I was going to school and in service. So.
And you were mainly in the construction business?
I was in the construction business, yeah.
Okay, just thinking back to all the jobs you worked on, what are a few of them that kind of stand out in your mind that were in Fairmont or Martin County or the area?
Well, of course, should I mention the old annex to the Lincoln School? That's
Sure.
one of my first recommended. And the reason I can remember that is because when they tore out the part that was there, they hauled all the kindling wood down to our backyard, and it was my job to throw it in the basement so we could put it in the furnace.
Okay.
Let's see, because that was in 1926, wasn't it? And then, of course, there are many. Well, we built an addition onto Building 40 when the Railway Motors added that, what is now it was Building 40 right there on Main Street. We built that addition at one time or another, and that is still there. And we built the Smead and Skaden's oil station in that block. I mean, we built all those buildings in that block, and the center there next door, that was the G&W Cafe. We built that, and that was the G&W Cafe. And then
was that on Main Street, or
that's on Main Street? Yeah, right North Avenue there. I call it.
All right.
And then KC Apartments on 5th Street, right behind that, behind those buildings. That we built that for Knut Peterson. In fact, all these buildings were built for Knut Peterson.
All right. And what decade was that? 30s, do you think, or 20s?
That was after that was in the 50s, I guess it was.
Oh, okay. All right. You mentioned when we talked earlier about the Sylvania band shell.
Oh, the band shell, yes, it was built in the Sylvania band shell was built in 1924, and I can remember being down there. I was just a kid, but one of my I can remember a lot of the fellows that worked down there. Claude Small did that dome roof on the backside. That was the old tarred roof on there, and I think if I remember, Wallace Peterson did the wiring. Wallace Peterson Electric did the wiring.
Do you remember what the cost of that was at that time?
Yeah, the cost of that was
approximately
$3,100. It was $1,000 below the estimate, the architect's estimate.
25% below the estimate.
Yeah,
kind of unheard of.
Yeah, it was written up in the Sentinel a while back. And
well, when you think about all your experiences in building and construction, are there some kind of unique ones or funny ones that kind of stand out in your mind that you remember? You said once you slipped on a roof?
Oh, I slipped and fell off of a roof once, but that was just carelessness because I was laying shingles for the shingler, and I happened to step off the roof on where he'd spit his chewing tobacco. Next thing I knew, I was sliding down the roof and landed on a sand pile that Elmer Wilk had hauled gravel in for running the foundations and the floors.
Probably lucky thing there's some gravel there.
Lucky I hit on the side of the gravel pile, or else I'd had quite a shock.
Sure. And there were some tornadoes back in the 30s.
Yeah, that was in '36. It was on on a Friday in 1936, on April 30th. I think it was April 30th or 30. Yeah, they have 30 days. But anyhow, that hit started down by close to Wilbert, and it came right across the southern part of Minnesota here, and it ended up going just north of East Chain and east of there away before it stopped.
Okay. It missed Fairmont then for the most part?
It missed Fairmont itself because Hans Park was just about the extreme north of it.
Oh, okay.
It took a swat right through there. And that was on a Friday. And I can remember what happened that day. I was working in the shop. We had our shop where Dr. Lund is, our cabinet shop. And I worked there in the cabinet shop, and it got so darn humid that we went out, the two fellows that worked there with me, we went outside and stood out to get a little fresh air. And it was just clammy. And then all of a sudden, it sounded like a dozen trains going through south of town. And the next thing I heard was the fire whistles going off. Well, then, of course, that Saturday, they alerted the National Guard, which I was in, and they assigned each fellow or two guys to each farm to police them so nobody go in and rob them. And we also had the first squad or first platoon had to direct traffic, and at the Hans Park corner, Gordon Klupp and I were the two people that directed traffic on that corner, and you never saw so many cars in your life as went through that corner that day.
How about the 1934 cornhusking contest? Did you see that at all? Or
yeah, I was there. I was out there. I was in the guards then at that time also.
Okay. And that was where the airport is now?
That's where the airport is now.
All right.
In fact, it was on the east part of the airport grounds, because the west side of where the airport is now we were parking cars in there, but I was on traffic detail parking cars out there, and that was I can remember that, and I can still see the guys bringing their wagons in to get them made and everything.
Well, I read accounts that there were cars parked to the west almost as far as Welcome. Is that true, or? Well,
I don't know about that. Because but I know there was lots of cars. We had a terrible time finding the place to put them.
Now, do they serve food out there too?
To be truthful, I can't remember because we were so busy in the traffic. I think they did, but I can't remember.
Thinking back over your lifetime here in Fairmont and Martin County, for that matter, you've probably seen a lot of changes. What are some of the changes that kind of stand out in your mind, whether it be buildings or businesses or social changes or whatever?
I think the biggest change is, if we start at the west part of town, is the day farm out there where Heritage Acres is now. I can remember that was in 1933. I think we built the barn and the chicken house out there, and at that time they'd had no running water out there, so we had to take a stone boat down to the lake there by the bridge, and had two 55-gallon barrels on that, and we'd haul the water up there so we could run concrete up there for the footings and foundations and driveways and floors. So that then, and of course we did railway motors down there. We built a few buildings down there, and of course anything north of what the office is now is all buildings that we built over the various years that we worked there for the railway motors. And we enlarged Building 40 before the railway. Well, the railway motors used it for their exporting business there mostly.
What are some of the big celebrations that come to mind over the years?
We had the JCs had the summer water carnivals. Used to put on water carnivals here, and I can't remember the year, but we had Miss America BB Shop here, and Sumner Scott got a hold of a Navy man, and he was escorted her, and Liz Williams, who is now Mrs. Mike Gary, she and I were the chaperones for those two.
Oh, really?
And
That was
we
interesting.
watched the parade from the top of the Augusta Hotel. That is now where the Farmers and Merchants Bank is there now.
Sure.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And we got her up on the roof there, and that's where we watched the parade at that time.
A lot of people watch the parade. A lot of people
Oh, heavens,
involved.
that was one of the biggest things. Those water carnivals that the JCs put on, we'd have cars lined all the way into Fairmont. And Anchor Schmid was the head of the traffic detail, and he would have those cars coming in there at Interlaken, where the inn is now, or where what we call Birchie's. Is that's where he would be directing traffic, and we would come in on the east side of the park on the old bridge, and then they'd come through, and we'd have all kinds of water events out there at the Interlaken at the time.
Okay. Well, Goldy, I appreciate your stopping in this morning, and thanks for coming. Thanks for the information.
Oh, you're sure welcome.
Okay. This is Lenny Tvedten for Hometown Focus.
Well, that was a great report.
Well, it certainly was. It's always interesting.
Lenny did a great job, and Goldy, man, he has a good memory.
He certainly does.
He certainly did. Absolutely.
Yes.
So tell us, with Dan's Appliance, where do you see the business going over the next few years and beyond?
We've established, I guess, for luck, we had a couple of boys, and one of the boys was Tim, our son, our second son, and he's become a part of our business. Actually, it's been about 18 years ago that he came back after going out to the world to see what he wanted to do. He ended up deciding that Fairmont was a great place to raise a family, and became a part of our store. He worked for us for about 3 years, and I just said, if you don't like it, it's time to ditch and go do something else. And if you want to be a part of it, we'll put you into the business. So he started buying his way back in, and 18 years later now he's president of the company, and Ann and I hope to retire over the next couple of years.
Wonderful.
And do some things that we've been not able to do for the last 40 years, do a little traveling and some warm weather trips and things like that through the winter. And Tim and the crew will take over the operation and run it just like we ran it over the last 40 years.
Build it up to be run. That's awesome. Second generation.
Contacting information, again, is going to be through the internet today. That's kind of the wave of the future. We obviously will still have telephones that ring and people answering the phone, and if there's anything that needs to be, again, get a hold of us at our website information. Go shopping at the internet at dansappliance.com.
And they can look at on your website all the different products.
We became a part of Brand Source, which is our buying group 20 years ago or so, but they have put together a beautiful website. You can go in and you can actually place orders and pick out any kind of products that we stock. Product that we don't stock can be ordered direct, but we can put orders together right on the internet and service you right through that. You don't have to even call us. Just put your order in and
Did you foresee that being a way to do business 40 years ago?
To be honest with you, there was no thought of that at all, but when we moved to our last location, which is out by the hospital on Highway 15 South, we built that building in 2000, which was the big year,
Sure.
2000 was
absolutely
going to be the bad one, but we built that building and I was scared to death, boy, the internet's going to take over and nobody's going to ever come in another brick and mortar building again, but that's not been the case. But we really love the way the internet treats all the business.
Well, it's a great tool, but nothing is better still, in my opinion, of going in and seeing the product.
Certainly, I believe
do
that.
your research, know what you want, and then go in and, like you said, touch and feel and look and experience the product firsthand. And your showroom is incredible.
Well, we're very happy the way it turned out.
It's just incredible. And there's a lot of product of all different kinds, and that makes it very cool. Dan, I want to thank you for co-hosting with me today. This has been fun and learning about your business.
Well, thanks for inviting me, Jeff.
Thank you very much. Nice to see you. Wow, wasn't that great?
Boy, it sure was.
Those were some great reports, and we're glad we were able to bring them to the folks. We want to thank you for watching, and as we share with you our sponsors that made this show possible, remember, it's not just the past, but the present that tells our story.